Listen to this, the CEO never saw it coming. The first time our guy ever asked for time off was to actually get married, but get this, she only froze for a second. Before bursting into total laughter, she even said, "Make sure to invite me to your wedding." She was 100% sure he was just throwing some childish tantrum. But when she finally received his actual wedding invitation, that normally ice cold CEO completely lost her mind. She drove like an absolute maniac, running 108 red lights to stop him. "Boss Olivia, I would like to request leave for my wedding." He spoke gently, but his words right there were absolute, decisive, no going back. The woman lazily lounging right thereon the sofa suddenly froze. She raised her eyes, looking at him. Her icy gaze swept over him. "You don't even have a girlfriend. What wedding leave are you talking about?" "I registered my marriage yesterday," he replied, his face completely blank. In his heart, he had already decided, if Olivia didn't approve this leave, he was quitting on the spot. Olivia just stared at him for 2 solid seconds, then suddenly, she burst out laughing like he just told a hilarious joke. "Does your dad, Arthur, even know who this imaginary bride is?" The atmosphere in that room turned incredibly tense. A brief look of panic flashed across our MC's face. He didn't say another word. The marriage registration had honestly been super rushed. He hadn't even found time to tell his own father, not to mention his new wife's identity was extremely sensitive. Revealing it too early might cause some real trouble. "My wife's identity is currently inconvenient to make public. I will personally explain everything to my father properly. Thank you for your concern, Boss Olivia. I will also hand over all my work duties completely. I absolutely will not cause any trouble for this company. Please rest assured." His strictly professional, zero-emotion attitude made Olivia internally seethe with rage, but she forced it all down. She gave him a mocking smirk. "Everyone in our circle knows about our relationship. Could your excuse be any more obvious?" The room fell completely silent again. The smile on Olivia's face vanished. Now, pay attention here. She was totally sure that he was only throwing this little fit today out of jealousy. Jealous she let Lucas take his position, and that she forgot his birthday. She seriously thought he was just acting out for her attention. An absolute spoiled princess he had practically raised for over 10 years. In the past, she absolutely would have patiently coaxed him and soothed his hurt feelings, but right now, Olivia's whole heart was completely focused on Lucas, the guy who just returned from abroad. Why would she care about her loyal old flame now? She waved her hand impatiently. "Whatever, just make sure to invite me for a toast." At the wedding, she firmly believed he was faking it, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Soon as those words dropped, she basically shooed him right out of the office. He stumbled a few steps back, keeping his head low so nobody would see his expression. Right at that exact moment, Lucas arrived at the company to discuss a partnership. He brushed right past our guy, so arrogant it looked like he was staring at a piece of trash. "Go make me a cup of coffee. Olivia and I have business to discuss." On paper, our MC was just the CEO assistant, but in reality, inside the company, he was practically second in command right here under Olivia. Before this moment, besides Olivia herself, nobody ever dared to speak to Carter like that. But Lucas, he had her silent backing, his hands clenched so hard his knuckles went completely white. Everyone watching probably thought he was about to explode from the disrespect. Instead, he just silently turned around and walked straight to the pantry. It was totally empty inside, just the quiet hum of the coffee maker buzzing away. Carter's mood shifted from pure rage to slowly calm. Memories of the past slowly started flooding his mind. Olivia had actually always had an awful temper. From childhood to adulthood, Carter was the only guy who could ever handle her. You see, he was the Oliver family driver's son. After his mother passed away, old Mr. Oliver felt pity and took him in as a foster son. He grew up right beside Olivia, a wildly spoiled heiress born with a silver spoon in her mouth. Sure, they called him a foster son, but really, he was just a live-in Playmate her dad hired. Now, the Oliver family never actually mistreated the boy when it came to food, clothes, or housing, but his own father constantly reminded him, "You must serve the young miss well." Because of that strict rule, he always obeyed Olivia, basically becoming the most loyal puppy at her side. Everybody else mocked him for being a blind, devoted simp, but he didn't care, because to him, Olivia was the most priceless treasure in all of Jiangnan, an arrogant, fiercely proud young lady, totally gorgeous, who grew up right beside him, falling in love with her was basically inevitable. But get this, the massive inferiority complex buried deep in his heart kept him from ever daring to cross that line, not even by a single step, that is, until years later when old Mr. Oliver got terminally ill. On his deathbed, he left a final wish, trusting Carter to protect her for the next 10 years. At that time, the Oliver Group was almost totally bankrupt, and Olivia, she cried like a fragile flower caught in a storm. Lying in his arms, she sobbed endlessly, "Carter, I only have you left. You can never leave me." Well, that night, she got completely wasted and just went limp, wrapping her arms around his neck. Lying beneath him, she kept whispering his name over and over again. Right in that moment, he just couldn't hide his feelings anymore. During the day, our guy worked himself to the absolute bone, chasing down investments. At night, he came home, willingly and eagerly taking care of Olivia. Even when the company hit rock bottom, he would literally rather sell his own blood than let the woman he loved suffer a drop in her quality of life. Gently touching his arm, which was covered in needle marks, Olivia cried as she promised him, "In this life, I'll always save a special place for you." Yeah, Carter actually thought that was enough. He became her secret lover, unable to step into the light by her side, doing everything couples should do but never once publicly acknowledged. That is, until a few days ago, on his birthday, Olivia actually brought up making their relationship completely public. The poor guy was so excited he couldn't sleep at all. He personally ordered a custom engagement ring worth tens of millions, hiring a whole crew to decorate the proposal venue. But he waited there for an entire day and night, just to find out that Lucas had suddenly returned to the country, and Olivia, she personally rushed to the airport to pick him up. In the photo, those two were hugging so sweetly. The woman's face was glowing with absolute joy, like she found her lost treasure. It hurt Carter so much he literally couldn't breathe. It felt like a bucket of ice water was dumped straight over his head. Every last fantasy and ounce of joy vanished into nothing until he stumbled back to the Oliver mansion and accidentally overheard a brutal conversation. Olivia's study. "Olivia, for all these years, you've kept Carter dangling on a string, making him willingly serve you, working himself to the absolute bone for the Oliver Group. Your tactics are masterful. I totally admire you. He's just a driver's son. Feeding him is already doing him a massive favor." Olivia maintained her high and mighty posture. She tilted her head back against the sofa, squinting lazily as she said, "He's literally just a bed warmer. I got bored of playing with him a long time ago. If you like him, I can just give him to you for free." Piercing, grating laughter echoed from the room. That voice, which used to be Carter's absolute favorite sound in the whole world, had now turned into sharp daggers, stabbing deep into his heart, tearing him apart. The pain was so unbelievably intense his whole body trembled. Before, Carter always thought it was simply because he wasn't good enough, that he didn't deserve her. Now he finally understood the brutal truth. Olivia's heart had never ever been open to him. He was nothing more than a cheap toy, the kind of toy you just throw away. Now pay attention, because this changes everything. For the very first time in his life, he skipped work without a reason. He wandered aimlessly on the city streets. Suddenly, bam, Carter was struck by a car and knocked down. As intense pain washed over him, he actually thought, "If I could just die right now, that would be great." When Carter woke up, a young woman was right beside him, resting her head on the rails of his hospital bed. Her fair, delicate shoulder peeked out slightly. The side profile of this strange woman under the evening glow looked incredibly Gentle and warm, hearing him move, she lifted her head, her beautiful eyes sparkling. Like autumn lakes instantly met his gaze, she hurried over, gently touching his forehead with a worried look. "How are you feeling?" Carter's nose caught a faint scent of sweet orchids lingering in the air. His Adam's apple bobbed involuntarily. He immediately turned his face away, unaccustomed to such extreme closeness. "No, I'm fine, just some superficial wounds." The woman politely pulled her soft hand back and tucked a stray hair behind her ear. Her soft black hair brushed lightly against Carter's hand. When she leaned in so close, it made his heart itch. His heart actually fluttered right along with it. She told him her name was Sylvia, to show her sincere apologies. She offered to unconditionally grant him one single request. Looking at that gentle face, which was nonetheless radiating an incredibly elegant aura, an image flashed through his mind from 10 years ago. Back then, because her childhood sweetheart went abroad, Olivia was drinking her heavy sorrows away late at night. She held a photo of a woman, tearing it to absolute shreds, her eyes full of pure hatred. "Sylvia, you little witch, why must you fight with me over Lucas? It's because of you that he left me." The gentle, totally ethereal face in that photo from years ago perfectly matched the woman standing in front of Carter right now. At that moment, perhaps it was his last shred of self-esteem rearing its stubborn head. He suddenly blurted out, "Marry me." The second he actually said it, Carter regretted it. The proposal was just way too abrupt. Afraid he had completely terrified her, he hurriedly tried to take it back. But watch this. Sylvia's eyes suddenly lit up brilliantly. She nodded, immediately in full agreement. The gentle corners of her eyes and lips were filled with a happy smile. "Perfect timing. My family has been heavily rushing me to get married, and let us watch our main guy worry about finding a partner. These two are a perfect match." They quickly rushed to register their sudden marriage. Even when holding that tiny red marriage booklet in his hands, he honestly still felt like he was dreaming. Sylvia, in the wedding photo, was smiling with such radiant, genuine happiness. It seriously looked exactly as if the man standing right next to her was a lover she had been with for years. Nobody would ever guess they were just two complete strangers who had met for the very first time. Watching her carefully tuck the booklet into her bag like a highly precious treasure, a flood of massive emotions surged straight through his heart. It felt surreal, apologetic, and mixed with a tiny hidden thrill of excitement. He really, truly just wanted to see Olivia's expression. Such a wildly proud, arrogant person, if she knew that he, the guy she deemed utterly unworthy to even stand in her spotlight, had actually just married the white moonlight that Lucas had chased after for years, but could never ever get. Oh, how completely magnificent her angry face would look the next day at work, right after walking through that door. He saw Lucas sitting so comfortably inside the main CEO office. Compared to 10 years ago, Lucas had definitely matured. His sweet, highly scholarly charm stood out in any crowd. He was exactly Olivia's ultimate type. His hand was placed suggestively right on Olivia's waist, making restless movements. The woman smiled shyly and so sweetly, her face completely full of happiness. The two of them were being super intimate, like nobody else was even around, as if he did not exist at all. In fact, when Olivia turned her back, Lucas actually shot him a highly provocative look, his eyes screaming with pure smug triumph. Now look closely. His reflection was as cold as a sheet of paper. If this were the past, his heart probably would have entirely shattered, but right now he only felt lucky, truly lucky, because his broken heart had finally, completely died for her. So even seeing Olivia and Lucas being so intensely affectionate with his own eyes, his heart felt absolutely nothing but cold numbness. Their chaotic, heavy breathing gradually subsided. Olivia, with her face totally flushed, looked up, lifting her chin toward him. "Lucas just got back to the country. I want to host a welcome party for him at the Oliver mansion. I am putting you strictly in charge of this." He lowered his eyes. His immediate instinct was to flat out refuse. Lately, the Oliver Group had a massive project entering a highly crucial phase. The entire company was so busy there. Feet barely even touched the ground. He genuinely could not squeeze out any free time. After thinking for a brief moment, he spoke cautiously. The company is honestly really short-handed right now. Could Mr. Lucas's party maybe wait until after work? Before he could even finish his full sentence, he was brutally cut off. Olivia violently threw the hot teacup in her hand straight at him. The cup shattered on the floor into pieces. A flying ceramic shard instantly sliced right across his finger. Her eyes were full of dark irritation, her icy tone completely devoid of any patience. Who the hell do you think you are? Just a lowly assistant. Do you really think this massive company cannot function without you? Lucas smugly crossed his arms over his chest, frowning with a very cold smirk. He was clearly waiting to enjoy a really good show, yet his mouth completely feigned total forgiveness. Forget it. If Olivia thinks it is too inconvenient for her assistant, I do not want to force him. I hurt him in the past after all. It is perfectly understandable that he holds a heavy grudge against me. His throbbing finger made our guy frown completely involuntarily. He had not even said anything, yet Lucas was already acting like he was the one causing a massive scene. We all know what is happening. Olivia's face instantly flips. She yells at Carter, pointing a finger right in his face. If my dad hadn't taken pity on you, you wouldn't even know what filthy gutter you'd be dying in today. With my dad gone, you actually think I can't order you around anymore. Listen closely. To me, absolutely nothing matters more important than Lucas. Say one more stupid word, and both you and your crippled father can pack your bags and get kicked out of the Oliver mansion. This family does not raise useless trash. Carter snaps his head up. He stares at her in pure shock. His heart turns freezing cold. He always thought 10 years together would buy at least a tiny bit of real affection. But honestly, guys, Olivia only knows how to brutally twist the knife into his deepest emotional wounds. Back then, it was because Carter's father saved old Mr. Oliver that he got into that awful crash and became disabled. Now, she uses that exact same tragedy to humiliate him. The giant office only echoes with Olivia's furious screaming when she finally notices the edges of Carter's eyes turning red. A sudden flash of guilt hits her face. Panic rises inside her heart. She knows she crossed a massive line, but because Lucas is standing right there beside her, she refuses to bow her head and admit that she was wrong. Carter grits his teeth hard. Old Mr. Oliver's dying words flash through his mind. On his deathbed, a man who was once a total business legend lay there reduced to skin and bone. His absolute final worry was for his only daughter. Carter, promise me for the next 10 years, no matter what happens, you must protect Olivia. I promise you, sir. Mr. Oliver used a 10-year promise to pave a safe path for his daughter, helping her grow until she could fly on her own. The brutal price, Carter's freedom. The blazing anger burning in his chest is violently shoved down by logic. He closes his eyes, squeezing words out through clenched teeth. I will get it done immediately. Much later, after grueling work shift, our guy collapses onto his bed, completely drained. Suddenly, he gets a video call from Sylvia. She smiles brightly, happily showing off the gorgeous wedding dress she is wearing. Hubby, does this one look pretty? Only then does Carter suddenly remember. Today was the exact day he promised to go dress shopping with Sylvia. Seeing that sweet smile on her face without a single hint of anger, he feels so guilty it practically eats him alive from the inside. I am so sorry, I really could not clear my schedule today. Sylvia simply shakes her head. Gentle and completely understanding. It is okay, I can go by myself. Still, Carter catches a quick flash of disappointment in her eyes. He suddenly feels panicked. An insane wave of pure heartache surges within him. It hurts so badly he does not even know what to do. Other than Olivia, this is the first time he has ever cared this deeply about another woman. After a brief moment of silence, he speaks very carefully. Are you free tomorrow night? I will take you to pick out a wedding dress again. Sylvia's head snaps up instantly. Her eyes light up with pure joy. A gentle smile blooms. I am free. But right after Carter hangs up, the door to his room is violently kicked. Wide open, Olivia barges straight in. Her icy glare locks onto him. She violently demands, "Who are you picking out a wedding dress with?" Carter stands up. He is way too used to her endless disrespect, so he just replies with a totally blank face, "With my wife." Olivia's expression darkened instantly. She was totally convinced he was just lying. To her, 10 long years together meant she supposedly knew exactly how devoted he actually was. She refused to believe he could let go, and she definitely wasn't willing to accept that reality. She stared him up and down, sneering coldly. "You've been following me for years. I haven't seen a single other woman by your side. Plus, who would be dumb enough to marry a driver's son?" He gritted his teeth, staying completely silent. His whole body tensed up. This intense, heavy wave of pure humiliation washed over him. But Olivia, she just assumed that our guy was feeling a guilty conscience. As she grew overly confident in her own judgment, he had zero energy left to fight back. He chose silence. A few days later, the massive welcome party for Lucas kicked off at the Oliver mansion. Practically every single high society elite showed up. Olivia and Lucas were childhood friends. They were the perfect power couple, the golden duo that absolutely everyone adored and supported. Back when Lucas went to study abroad, so many elites thought it was a massive pity, so when our MC, a guy looking 50% like Lucas, actually showed up, everyone relentlessly mocked him. He is just a cheap copy of young Master Lucas. Now that the real deal is back, the restless crowd eagerly started gossiping and making a massive scene. He has zero shame. The real guy returned, and this fake still hasn't crawled out of here. Ungrateful trash. We feed him and he seriously acts like a dog. Without Miss Olivia being so kind, how could a mere driver's son like him ever have the right to stand here? I heard he even dared to compete against young Master Lucas. How disgusting. He had heard these absolutely bitter insults way too many times, so many times that he had grown entirely numb to them. Olivia's inner circle never once looked at him with an ounce of respect. They trashed him, claiming he only used his face to secure his spot inside the Oliver Group. But what they literally did not know, 10 years ago when the Oliver Group sat on the edge of total ruin, it was this very guy they called useless who carried an insane amount of pressure. Our MC was the one who ruthlessly wiped out the company parasites and totally overhauled their entire business strategy. He once pushed himself so intensely he got a bleeding stomach ulcer. He ran himself ragged, begging for every single penny of investment just to drag the Oliver Group right out of the storm and back to the absolute top. Honestly, you and I know without him, the Oliver Group simply wouldn't exist today. But ironically, no one remembered his epic sacrifices. In their blind eyes, he would forever just be the driver's son, a poor, pathetic loser not worth a second glance. But right then, Sylvia called him. Her voice was just as sweet as ever. "Are you off work? Should I come get you?" "Yeah, give me about 30 minutes. "Okay, I'll wait." Her excited tone made him involuntarily smile. Suddenly, behind him, a massive cheer erupted. Amidst the crowd's admiring stares, the two shining main characters walked straight toward this direction. Olivia wore a stunning long white dress, her makeup totally flawless. She was so insanely beautiful it left everyone breathless. Her huge, sparkling eyes never once left Lucas. It was like her entire world only revolved around his silhouette. The picture-perfect scene made everyone hold their breath. But wait, a sudden loud bark shattered the moment, instantly followed by a maid's panic scream. A chubby little corgi, surprisingly fast, dashed right through the rich crowd. It ran straight toward our MC and happily leaped right into Carter's arms. That little sprint, it caused absolute chaos. Panicked waiter dropped an entire tray of drinks. Red wine splashed everywhere, flying over Lucas's face, completely ruining that hairstyle he just spent ages perfecting. The guy was completely soaked, looking pathetic as a wet rat. "Carter, you did this on Purpose, didn't you? Lucas's face was completely black with rage. The man was so furious, his features totally twisted. Even if I hid the fact I returned, you didn't have to pull this stunt to humiliate me. Why are you so damn manipulative? Carter barely had time to process it, instinctively hugging the trembling corgi tightly against his chest. You see, Olivia and Carter adopted this dog together. Stray dog that got abandoned in this cold, totally lifeless mansion. The pup was basically Carter's only real comfort. When they first brought him home, he was just skin and bones, super timid, terrified of being near anyone, but thanks to their care, the dog gradually plumped up. His personality turned incredibly sweet and friendly. His round, chubby little body made Olivia love him so much that she literally couldn't put him down. Back during the peak of their relationship, Olivia even joked Peanut was basically their child. Back then, Carter genuinely believed that he and Olivia actually had a future together. He was just about to open mouth to explain when a sudden slap struck his face hard. The impact was so insane his ears instantly started ringing. Olivia's voice, cold as absolute ice, echoed in his ears. Every single word was completely cruel. Take this useless mutt and throw it right in the lake. She wanted Peanut dead. In that exact moment, Carter felt the absolute ruthlessness of the woman he loved for 10 years, just because a stupid welcome party got slightly messed up. Olivia was evil enough to actually want to drown Peanut alive. Sensing the sudden danger, the little dog desperately burrowed into Carter's arms, begging for help, but the crowd around them just gloated, watching the entire drama. Some guys even rushed forward, pinning down his arms and legs, violently snatching Peanut away from his chest. Don't move. Carter was forced to the ground. His eyes were completely bloodshot, his mind teetering on total collapse, and seeing Carter look so incredibly pathetic, Lucas, his bitter rival, felt incredibly satisfied. The guy rolled his eyes, putting on this wicked, completely amused expression. He grabbed the back of Peanut's neck, speaking in a super provocative, teasing tone. Want to save him? Then get on your knees and beg me. Watch this. That insane statement threw the hall into a total frenzy. Countless eyes locked straight onto Carter. His whole body went stiff, the cut from the glass shard on his hand burned more and more, but physical pain was absolutely nothing compared to the pure humiliation crushing his heart. Carter looked up, staring right at Olivia with a desperate, pleading gaze for the very first time, but she just stood there, looking down at him from above without a single shred of warmth in her eyes. The words she spoke were like sharp blades stabbing straight into his chest. If you make a mistake, you must pay the price. The final string of logic in Carter's mind fully snapped. Resigned, he closed his eyes, surrounded by the cheering and mocking jeers of the crowd. Trembling, he dropped straight to his knees. The exact moment his knees hit that floor, gasps of shock echoed all around him. No one could have ever predicted that Carter would actually kneel for a dog. Even Olivia's eyes widened in pure shock, staring at the disheveled man kneeling on the floor, her cold eyes filled with utter disgust. Are your knees really that weak? Carter, do you have absolutely no shame? He didn't answer, he just knelt there. Silent, clothes wrecked, a glaring red handprint marked his face, his entire being drowned in sorrow and absolute, crushing despair. His dignity had been trampled into the dirt. That normally proud back of his had completely collapsed. His broken gaze shifted to Lucas, clinging to one final shred of hope. It's my fault. I orchestrated everything. Just please let Peanut go. He could barely speak. Every single syllable seemed to drain the absolute last of his strength. Watching him break like this, Olivia's heart actually felt a tiny, brief twinge, but it vanished instantly. Not even a second later, she snapped back to her cold, heartless self. But Lucas, he just laughed out loud, completely smug, watching his rival kneeling down satisfied him to the absolute extreme. That twisted, competitive ego of his, what could possibly feel better than forcing your enemy to beg on his knees, especially when the guy kneeling right there was always known for being ridiculously arrogant and stubborn? But even then, Lucas had Zero intention of letting the dog go, the corner of his mouth slowly. Curled up into a sick smile, he squeezed the tiny pup's neck, hard, Peanut. Thrashed around wildly, his tiny barks faded out, literally being choked to the absolute edge of suffocation. Our guy's heart shattered, tearing apart from the inside. He went completely insane, lunging straight at Lucas, but Olivia's massive guards pinned him. Down, both his arms locked in place, he couldn't budge an inch, no matter how hard he fought. He couldn't take a single step. He was forced to watch helplessly as poor Peanut was literally tortured to death. "Lucas, you absolute scum, do you even have a soul?" he screamed, voice cracked and heavy with absolute despair and rage. His eyes went so red they looked ready to burst open, but the grip of Lucas's hand just got tighter. He smiled, completely eating up that look of pure defeat, feeling ridiculously proud of himself. Soon Peanut's breathing faded out, his little tail dropping down helplessly. He looked up at Olivia. One final time, he just couldn't process it. Why would a girl who loved Peanut so much just stand there watching him choke to death right in front of her? Just because Lucas was the one doing it. Peanut was an innocent dog. His bloodshot eyes locked onto Peanut's tiny, pain-filled stare. The little pup weakly let out one final heartbreaking whimper. A second later, Lucas violently threw him down onto the cold ground. Like tossing aside actual garbage, fresh blood pooled out everywhere, almost like it was racing to escape the tiny body. A couple of weak twitches, and then Peanut's eyes closed for good. You and I can imagine the searing pain tearing through his body. He lost his absolute mind, staring at the dog lying motionless there, his emotions shattered like a breaking dam, completely destroying the very last wall of defense inside his heart. He stumbled blindly over to Peanut's body. Shaking uncontrollably, he scooped him up in his hands. A guy nearly 6 feet tall, clutching a tiny dog against his chest, slumped down on the dirt, his entire body radiating an aura of absolute agony. Even Olivia actually felt uncomfortable. She really never expected Peanut to mean this much to him, and now, seeing him in this brutal state, her chest tightened up uncomfortably. "It's just a dog. Is it really that serious? At worst, I'll just buy you another one," she scoffed, acting like she was doing some grand favor. Her voice got louder. "This was your fault to begin with. Lucas was just teaching you a lesson." His thugs chimed right in. "Honestly, you'd hate them too." The room echoed with mockery. "Yeah, Carter, it's just a dead mutt. How long will you throw this fit? At the end of the day, you're just leeches living off the Oliver family. Your dog offended young Master Lucas. It completely deserved to die." All this endless flattery, it made Lucas look incredibly smug. He lifted his foot and kicked Carter hard in the back. His head slammed straight against the cold marble floor. Blood instantly began pouring down, but Carter still held Peanut tightly. His arms he refused to let go. "So annoying. Hurry up and throw this dead dog's body away." But before Lucas could even finish his sentence, in a split second, Carter spun around. He threw a massive, powerful punch straight into Lucas's smug face. Crack! The sickening sound of snapping bone echoed loud. Lucas screamed in absolute agony. Clutching his bloody nose, he couldn't even speak. Amidst the sudden panic screams echoing through the hall, Carter slowly stood up. Blood flowed from his forehead, pouring down his nose and dyeing half his face red, but he couldn't care less. In his eyes only dead, cold silence. His voice was terrifyingly calm. "Lucas, as long as I am breathing, I swear I will make you pay for this in blood." Saying those words, Carter seemed strangely detached, but Lucas felt a cold shiver run down his spine. Like a fierce tiger in the deep forest was staring him down. "Lucas." Olivia rushed right over to check on him. Then she raised her hand and slapped Carter hard across the face. She screamed furiously, get out of the Oliver mansion right now." The corner of Carter's mouth just twitched up, revealing a bitterly contemptuous smile. His gaze fell upon Olivia's face, now twisted with anger, but for the very first time, Carter had absolutely no lingering attachment toward her anymore. Zero reluctance. All those old feelings seemed to have been completely ground to dust with Peanut's death, he suddenly burst out. Laughing because he realized just how pathetic he had been. Under the judgmental eyes of everyone there, Carter turned around emotionlessly, carefully holding Peanut. He left that awful place. He drove for 100 miles, then he scattered Peanut's ashes into the sea. The night breeze chilled him straight to the bone, blowing until his nerves went entirely numb. Now watch this. Sylvia stood quietly beside him, looking at the man, wearing an expression of ultimate agony, standing silently on that rocky cliff. The deep sorrow radiating from him was so heavy, it made her own heart ache. Without thinking twice, she stepped forward and hugged Carter tightly from behind. She wanted to use her warmth to offer some real comfort. Don't be sad anymore. I'll always be with you. If Peanut is looking down from heaven, he wouldn't want to see you like this. You have to stay strong. Just those few simple words made the tears Carter couldn't hold back pour out like a river. He turned around and tightly hugged the woman beside him, burying his face right in the crook of her neck. That familiar, faint scent of orchids made him feel safe, almost as if she were mending his deeply wounded heart. Cut to the next day at the company. When Olivia arrived, she heard Carter officially submitted his resignation to human resources. She flew into an absolute rage. She cursed out the entire staff, then immediately called him. As soon as he picked up, her furious voice roared like thunder. Carter, are you really that addicted to this fake marriage stunt? I am out of patience. I order you to return to the Oliver mansion immediately, because if not, later, even if you kneel and beg me, I will absolutely never give you another chance. Your mistakes. Carter just sighs, his tone totally calm. He's already resigned. He tells boss Olivia she has zero right to stop him leaving. Who gave him permission? Olivia is so furious, the veins on her temples literally throb. She snaps, reminding Carter of his personal promise. He owed her 10 full years before walking away, and that time isn't up. She demands he stays at the Oliver Group. If we do the math here, it's actually true. There's barely 1 month left until the anniversary of the old Mr. Oliver's passing. Carter really can't grasp why Olivia's throwing such a massive fit. Does she actually not want him to leave? But think about it. She always hated him the absolute most, always finding sick new ways to humiliate, degrade, and totally trample him. Carter just narrows his eyes, deep inside. He feels nothing but bone-deep exhaustion, just completely worn out, carrying this overwhelming sense of helplessness. Fine, a 1-month deadline. 1 month from now he will officially ditch the Oliver Group. Hopefully, boss Olivia won't invent another excuse to force him to stick around. After hanging up the phone, Olivia's heart suddenly swells with this weird, inexplicable emptiness. She just feels like something is about to completely slip right out of her control. Despite that hollow feeling, her stubborn pride absolutely refuses to let her dig deeper into the real reason. Why? Since he can't leave instantly, Carter starts packing. Watch this closely. Anything related to Olivia in his room goes straight into the trash. He only packs essential items. Finishing up, he is completely stunned, realizing that after all these years trapped in the Oliver mansion, his stuff barely fills half a suitcase. He looks at the room he called home for over a decade, gently closing the door. Turning around, he locks eyes with Olivia's harsh, scrutinizing glare. Her eyes are icy to the bone, totally filled with disgust. Didn't she tell him to stop these petty games? She mocks him for dragging a suitcase out of the mansion just to move in with his supposed new bride. Carter sees the absolute mockery in her eyes. He just calmly nods. Yes, his wedding happens in exactly 1 month. He invites both her and Lucas. Seeing Carter speak with such serious conviction, Olivia almost claps at his supposedly supreme lying skills. She is literally just about to expose him when the butler interrupts. They need to visit someone at the hospital and Lucas's car is ready. She instantly tosses Carter to the back of her mind, leaving behind one incredibly cold threat. This is his final warning to stop these childish games. She doesn't believe a single word. looking at her walk away. Carter feels absolutely zero lingering attachment. He just laughs silently. To himself, he never lied to Olivia. He is truly getting married, and this time he's not looking back. Writing the final chapter in his heart, Carter turns his back, walking out of the Oliver mansion forever. Not a single backwards glance. He gets into the car with Sylvia, who's been waiting right outside. They head out to try on wedding dresses. Carter actually booked a top-tier appointment with a nationally renowned designer, getting it custom-made to her requests. Sylvia is absolutely surprised and completely overjoyed, excitedly discussing her dream designs with the creator. Carter just smiles as he watches her, his chest swelling with genuine warmth. But while wandering around the bridal shop and walking downstairs alone, wait for it, Carter suddenly hears a voice from the floor below, someone telling Olivia she only wears a wedding dress once. Let's dive in. Lucas scoffed at customizing a dress, but weddings are a once-in-a-lifetime deal. Olivia just wanted to look absolutely gorgeous marrying him. Lucas forced a smile, looking completely pained. It honestly wasn't until Olivia actually offered to pay for it herself that his sour expression turned totally sunny. Olivia, who always acted so high and mighty around our MC, had become completely submissive around Lucas. Catching sight of Carter, Olivia suddenly looked completely stunned before her face instantly darkened. Why was he even here? The sharp, interrogating tone was undeniable. She seriously thought Carter was out here stalking them. He shut it down quick. He was just helping his wife pick out a dress. Lucas mocked him immediately. With his measly salary, could he really afford a dress here? Lucas scoffed, totally blind to how unbelievably cheap. He looked, refusing to spend cash on the very woman he was about to marry. Absolutely pathetic. Meanwhile, Olivia stood there looking utterly annoyed. If he insisted he was picking out a wedding dress, then where was this so-called wife? Carter just pursed his lips. He really didn't want to let these clowns ruin Sylvia's perfect mood. He had canceled on her twice already. If he ruined things again today, he honestly wouldn't dare face her. Deeply disappointed eyes seeing Carter stay completely silent, Olivia suddenly felt bizarrely relieved. But right then a store clerk walked right over. Mr. Carter, Miss Sylvia has selected a few gorgeous styles. She wants you upstairs to help her choose one. That sentence made Olivia's heart jump right into her throat. She couldn't believe it. Was Carter really here picking out a wedding dress? But the very next second, she brushed the thought away. Stick with me here. If he was getting married, why hadn't he even mentioned the bride's name yet? It was definitely an act. He probably hired someone to make her jealous and lose control, convincing herself of that. Olivia's expression quickly returned to normal. The corners of her lips curled up venomously. Well, Assistant Carter, shouldn't you hurry upstairs? Definitely do not keep your brand new wife waiting. If you lack the funds, you can always borrow from me. After all, you followed me for over 10 years. I can lend you that much. Her tone was dripping with pure mockery, but Carter just glanced at her and indifferently muttered a cold thank you. Olivia felt like her boiling anger had punched cotton, leaving her nowhere to vent. But before she could speak again, Lucas cried out that his nose was hurting. Panicking, Olivia hurriedly supported him and left. Meanwhile, up on the second floor, Sylvia, wearing a beautiful bridal veil, peeked her head out and playfully called him up. That delicate, gentle face was absolutely radiant, excitedly urging Carter to come help her pick out a dress. But Olivia didn't have time to look closely. She only caught a very hasty glimpse before stepping out the door. However, just that one blurry glance was enough to make her heart flutter uneasily. Why did that woman look so familiar? Carter's wedding went ahead exactly as planned, and get this, that day was actually the anniversary of old Mr. Oliver's passing. After offering incense, Olivia suddenly received Carter's formal resignation letter right alongside a wedding invitation. She desperately tried to call him, only to find out he completely blocked her number, going totally insane with Raged, she dragged Lucas along and drove like a total maniac toward his wedding. Venue, you and I know, she ran a dozen red lights, her mind kept flashing with. All right, you and I are witnessing pure regret. Every memory was Carter's face, heartbroken. Olivia stumbled out of the car, trembling from head to toe. Absolutely impossible. Impossible, she convinced herself. She was just imagining things. He simply hired actors for a show, playing hard to get, trying to make her violently jealous. She had to confirm it. She needed to ask him straight up. Was this real? Blinded by rage, all logic vanished. The man she once kept perfectly in the palm of her hand had suddenly slipped away, completely out of her control now. An unbearable feeling of absolute panic engulfed her, yet she still hadn't realized, in her heart, he meant so much. More to her than she ever thought, ignoring Lucas and his furious glare. She stormed right into that wedding hall. The main ceremony was just starting. Olivia and Lucas were dressed in full white mourning clothes, right now. They looked completely out of place among the joyful, radiant wedding crowd. The host's voice echoed loudly. Today, Carter and Sylvia are officially becoming husband and wife. Boom, an absolute explosion went off in Olivia's head. Wait, what? He was marrying Sylvia? How was that even possible? Pure shock hit. Bewildered, her eyes frantically scanned the entire hall. Then she saw Carter hurriedly walking over. Her face screamed total disbelief. She desperately wanted to ask him if the bride was actually Sylvia, her ultimate lifelong rival. Right then, she realized he wasn't acting at all. He really was getting married. Whispers immediately started spreading all around them. Watch Lucas, standing right behind Olivia, looking totally stunned. The bride is actually Sylvia. Why didn't anyone know about this? Absolutely impossible. This whole thing must be completely fake. The surrounding crowd wouldn't stop gossiping. Sylvia, the eldest daughter of the Song family. No way, that's real. Exactly, she is young. Master Lucas's first love. She didn't even want Lucas, so how on earth could she marry some driver's son? Hearing that gossip, Olivia's racing heart finally eased up. Lucas shot a massive death glare at the person dropping his name, secretly vowing to absolutely destroy them later. Olivia also tried to calm herself down. It had to be a total coincidence, just a random fake actress who the hired guy happened to call Sylvia, completely convinced by her own wild delusion. She raised her head up high, returning straight to her usual arrogant self. She turned to Carter and commanded, "This joke ends now. Follow me back. Get right on your knees and apologize to everyone. I will pretend nothing even happened. Here today, the Oliver Group still has a place for you." But Carter just stared back coldly, zero emotion in his eyes. His voice was just eerily calm. "Olivia, today is my wedding day. I am not going anywhere with you." Olivia was just about to scream at him when a sharp female voice rang out. "Afar, on what grounds exactly should my husband Carter kneel and apologize to you?" The heavy doors slowly pushed open. A stunning, familiar silhouette appeared right at the entrance, glowing in a pure white wedding dress. That face, Sylvia, it was all real. It really was her. A beautiful violin melody started up. Sylvia, completely adorned in that snow-white gown, looked so stunning she left everyone breathless. They held hands tightly. The exact second Olivia finally saw her face, her entire arrogant world collapsed. The entire hall went dead silent. How could this even be real? The first person to actually snap was Lucas. His pupils violently contracted, staring right at the woman he had desperately loved for years. Sylvia, now standing right in front of him, smiling brightly and calling Carter her husband. Now it was Lucas's turn to completely lose it. "Sylvia, what nonsense are you talking about? How could that dirt poor loser be your husband?" Still, he forced a desperate smile. "When did you get back to the country? Why didn't you tell me back then when Sylvia went overseas?" He had chased right after her without hesitation, but she couldn't care less, instantly cutting off absolutely all contact with him. Yet during his years abroad, he only kept her in his heart. Honestly, if a sudden family crisis hadn't caused his business to Completely run out of funds, he wouldn't have returned just to court Olivia. To Lucas, Olivia was nothing but a profitable tool, the person he truly held in. His absolute heart and soul was Sylvia, but here's the thing, Sylvia completely ignored him. She only cared about Carter, seriously, when she saw our guy being slandered and absolutely humiliated. She deeply regretted not getting there sooner. She couldn't imagine the massive suffering he must have endured. Before this, she always wore a gentle smile, but right now, Sylvia's face turned ice cold, her piercing gaze swept right over Lucas, her voice totally unapologetic. Who the hell are you, do? I really need to report to you when I return home, and please show respect. To my husband, in my eyes, he is 1,000 times better than some idiot like you who just uses power to look down on everyone else. Lucas went completely pale then. Flushed bright red, he felt pure humiliation, getting publicly scolded by his longtime crush in front of a massive crowd, and being directly compared as much worse than a useless loser. It hurt worse than death itself, so furious his chest was heavily heaving. He desperately clutched his chest, stumbling backward. Lucas, Olivia screamed in sheer panic. She frantically yelled for people. Call an ambulance, call 120, hurry up. But Sylvia didn't even bother giving him a second glance. She held Carter's hand, ready to leave. At that exact moment, Olivia flew into a violent rage and blocked their path. She had hated Sylvia for ages. She hated her for stealing her precious white moonlight. She hated her for making her stay in the country, waiting around for Lucas for years in total vain. But what drove her to absolute madness was Carter, the guy who had always been perfectly obedient in the palm of her hand. He dared to betray her and actually marry Sylvia of all people. You gotta understand. The Song family was an absolute business titan. Sylvia was their one and only heiress. Totally spoiled since childhood, standing at the very peak of glory, effortlessly crushing Olivia in absolutely every aspect. She never thought a rich girl like her would look at Carter, a guy Olivia herself considered a total piece of trash. Only right now did she finally understand all those recent changes in him. All the wild rumors saying he was getting married were actually completely true. Right now, it felt like her head was literally going to explode. A totally unprecedented panic flooded her entire body, easily overwhelming her. Deep feelings for Lucas, but under the watchful gaze of everyone, Olivia's body reacted way faster than her mind. She aggressively reached out and grabbed his tie, pulling him toward her voice was full of dark manic possessiveness. You are my personal assistant. Without my strict permission, you cannot marry anyone else. I do not agree to this. The very second she said that, Sylvia finally couldn't hold back anymore. She let out a sharp, cold snort, her icy eyes completely filled with deadly frost, bluntly tearing off her final polite mask. Miss Olivia, you are only Carter's boss. On. Why are you crashing his wedding? Do not tell me you are actually getting completely greedy right now. The entire venue just absolutely froze in place. A collective gasp, total shock, because everybody knew Carter had chased after Olivia for over 10 years. Their blurry little romance was basically an open secret. Then Lucas came back, and everyone was just waiting around to see Carter dumped. They mocked him for being a total fool, pouring his life into the Oliver Group, only to end up with zero official status and losing everything. Yet now, they realize he already locked down a serious powerhouse backer. He basically just slapped Olivia across the face with a massive reality check. Olivia knew she lacked any right, but it all happened too fast, leaving her completely stunned. Her ultimate backup plan actually dared to just betray her. But you and I know the craziest part is who Carter actually married. Sylvia, her absolute biggest rival. Olivia's temples are throbbing with pure rage. She grabs his tie, refusing to let him go. She starts playing the whole victim card. Carter, I never saw this coming. The Oliver family raised you, and we just raised a backstabbing wolf. Honestly, if my dad had not pitied you and taken your father in, how could you possibly be this successful? Did you forget the promises you swore on His deathbed, was it all fake? She condemned him in this highly self-righteous tone, calling him a greedy animal, a complete traitor with crazy ambitions. She completely forgot that back in the day, Carter alone carried the Oliver family through their dark crisis. He steered that entire company solo. 10 full years of bleeding for that job, completely sacrificing his very own future, and to her, he was just a basic assistant nobody really even respected. Boss Olivia, you have to be kidding. For 10 years I have never ignored my promise. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this company without resting for a single day. Today marks the final day of our 10-year deal. Under our contract, starting right now, I am no longer your personal assistant, and you lack any right to control my marriage. Carter just stared at her with ice-cold eyes. Finger by finger, he peeled her off his tie, his voice dropping to a crystal-clear whisper. I officially resign from the Oliver Group today. Going forward, I have zero connection to the Oliver family. As he dropped this bomb, his face remained completely calm, proving that all their flashy wealth and status meant absolutely nothing to him. Just passing clouds. Hearing him brutally cut those ties, Olivia's heart absolutely crashed into the abyss. She truly never thought the very guy who always obeyed her, taking all her trash, would eventually stand by another woman as her enemy. That brutal realization made her entire body freeze over. Her chest felt completely hollow and desperate, totally losing control. She screamed, Carter, do you not regret this? He just looked down, chuckling softly while firmly gripping Sylvia's hand. Boss Olivia, you are kidding again. Back then I was blind, treating literal garbage like it was treasure. Now I just want to spoil my wife. Those exact words. My wife stabbed like a rusted dagger straight into Olivia's chest. It burned so badly she could barely breathe, but her toxic pride made her refuse. He refused to show weakness, no matter the pain. The room's atmosphere instantly grew tight as a drawn bowstring. The Song family guards were already waiting on the sidelines. Just one single glance from Sylvia, and these guys would absolutely and immediately kick every uninvited guest out of this wedding. But despite the deep anger in her heart, Sylvia still gave her new husband enough face, silently asking for his opinion. Now looking at Olivia's completely shameless, stubborn attitude, our guy only felt pure disgust. Still, his years of strict upbringing helped him suppress that surging rage. Since today is actually Mr. Oliver's death anniversary, I will save your reputation. Today is my wedding with Sylvia. If you want, you can actually stay. I will reserve a seat for you. These incredibly polite words made everyone in the room look at him totally differently. Sylvia could not help but smile with total admiration. Her brand new husband was truly someone who valued loyalty and honor, acting with absolutely complete integrity. But you and I know Olivia would never appreciate that at all. She just glared at him with a cold face, playing completely dumb, while his face remained perfectly calm. There was zero trace of affection left in his eyes anymore. Olivia's heart ached violently, completely out of control. A massive surge of bitter resentment rose right up. Her temples throbbed wildly. It was not until Lucas's bodyguard leaned in close, whispering something into her ear, that Olivia's expression instantly changed. She hastily grabbed the unconscious Lucas and completely fled the scene. After the gossiping crowd finally scattered back inside the private lounge, only the newlyweds, Sylvia and her new husband, remained. He felt totally guilty, his face showing deep remorse. I am sorry. What just happened today was my fault entirely. I never saw it coming. I really thought Olivia wouldn't start trouble. On this specific day, I actually chose the exact anniversary of Mr. Oliver's passing because every single year, no matter the crisis, Olivia never once left the Oliver estate. He lowered his head, his voice dripping with self-blame. I just don't understand why this year was different. Sylvia just smiled softly and shook her head. This is not your fault. Her eyes were gentle but incredibly firm. You are my husband. A husband and wife are supposed to share everything Together, you never need to apologize to me, no matter what goes down today or what. Wild difficulties we face later, I will be right by your side facing them with you. Her words were so insanely natural and certain. Every syllable seemed to hold some magical calming power. Meanwhile, the chilling autumn wind slipped right through the slightly opened window, blowing cold air against his suit, making him shiver. Slightly, but his heart, it had never felt warmer. He stared blankly at Sylvia. His mind was racing fast. So many things he wanted to say caught in his throat, but he didn't know where to even begin. Ultimately, it only came out as a choked-up sound. Thank you. Sylvia didn't wait for him to say anything else. She just reached up and gently wiped the corners of his reddened eyes. Then she traced down to his lips, finally resting right on his Adam's apple. He felt as if all his senses had been completely amplified. Every single movement of hers sent a hot fire spreading right through his body. His ears turned bright red. He could not help avoiding her gaze, seeing him acting so flustered. Sylvia, for the very first time, felt the urge to playfully tease him. She slowly moved her hands, wrapping them very lightly around his neck. The distance between them suddenly vanished. His breath grew heavy and burning hot. Their breathing totally intertwined, the tips of their noses brushing, a sweet, almost sluggish atmosphere slowly filled the room. She leaned right into his ear, whispering in a low voice, "We are legally husband and wife now. You don't need to be so distant with me, right, husband?" The exact second she called him husband again, his entire mind just exploded, staring at that insanely cunning, little fox-like smile of hers. He quickly looked away, dodging her gaze completely. Yeah. Seeing his flustered reaction, Sylvia's urge to tease him was completely satisfied. The corners of her lips curled into a soft smile. She let go, knowing exactly when to pull back. She grabbed his hand. With joyous steps, she pushed the door wide open. Outside, the loud sound of bustling voices echoed. The guests were all waiting in pure anticipation. Sylvia turned back to look at him, her eyes as gentle as a spring breeze, filled with expectation and love. The pure white wedding dress made her look so flawlessly beautiful it was surreal. Everything around her totally blurred in comparison. That moment was forever etched into his memory, even years later when looking back. Her gorgeous smile never faded from his mind. But what about Olivia? Stick with me here. She drove back to the Oliver mansion. The massive house was eerily silent. The staff had tactfully withdrawn, leaving her entirely alone to kneel before her father's memorial tablet, busy all day. She hadn't even found time to eat. After kneeling until her head was completely spinning, she unconsciously blurted out, "Carter, is the porridge ready?" The exact moment those words slipped out, she suddenly snapped awake. The loyal man who used to stay up late making porridge for her was no longer by her side. An unnamed sorrow heavily surged through her entire body. Her heart felt like a massive hole had been brutally carved into it. The cold wind rushed in, making her feel completely suffocated and utterly miserable. Right then, from the downstairs servants' quarters came the muffled sound of a suppressed argument. They clearly didn't want her hearing this. Inside, a completely panicked maid was kneeling on the floor, trembling like a leaf. Her face was as pale as paper. "Please don't tell the young miss. I really didn't steal from the Oliver family. I just picked this ring out of the trash bin." The butler looked incredibly grim, clearly not believing a single word. But the gorgeous pink diamond on that ring sparkled brilliantly in the room's dim light. With that insane level of quality, it was worth tens of millions at the very least. How could something like that just casually be trashed? He was just about to keep interrogating her when the door was violently kicked open with a loud bang. Everyone jumped and whipped their heads around, only to see Olivia's absolutely icy face. Stepping inside, her cold gaze fell straight onto that sparkling diamond, her pupils violently contracted in pure shock. This was the exact dream diamond that she had once casually mentioned. Distant memories came flooding back, along with the feelings that had been totally buried for so long and the secret flutterings of her Heart that absolutely no one knew about, in Olivia's memories since she was very young. He was always right by her side like the most loyal dog, never disobeying her. She knew very well that he liked her, because his expressive eyes couldn't hide the intense emotions inside. It was truly hard for anyone not to notice, but all these years he willingly stayed right by her side, shouldering absolutely everything without a single complaint. To say she wasn't moved, a total lie, but the social gap between them was just too massive. She couldn't even imagine the backlash if high society ever found out she actually caught feelings for her driver's son. The mockery behind her back would be brutal. So when he looked up with teary eyes and timidly asked if someone proposed to you, what kind of ring would you want? She didn't even hesitate. She named an insanely expensive diamond brand, pointing straight to the absolute most premium model. She was using this exact tactic to scare him into backing off entirely. Her face stayed perfectly neutral, but she definitely saw his hands clenching into tight fists. She assumed this meant he was finally giving up, because with his tiny salary back then, even if he starved his whole life, he absolutely could never afford it. But she never in a million years expected that very same ring would show up inside the Oliver mansion. Wait, did he actually buy it? Seeing Olivia's face turning darker by the second, the poor maid was completely terrified. She lunged forward, desperately hugging her leg, just crying and begging, "Miss, please forgive me. Mr. Carter personally threw this ring straight into the trash. I had a moment of pure greed and hid it. I swear I really didn't steal it. Please don't fire me." She bawled like her heart was ripping apart, but Olivia's cold expression didn't soften at all. In fact, it turned absolutely deadly. She violently kicked the maid away, pure anger and panic twisted in her chest, so much that the hand gripping her phone physically trembled. She was totally desperate to hear it from his mouth. Did he seriously plan on proposing to her? The phone just rang with a cold, hollow beep. The number you dialed is busy. He had hung up on her, refusing to accept this. She kept calling back, only to realize she was completely blocked. Early the very next morning, Olivia looked absolutely sick. She raised her phone, totally ready to smash it to pieces. But get this, the phone suddenly rang. A flash of pure joy crossed her face. She almost thought he was calling back, but checking the screen, just her secretary lay. Forcing down her rage, she answered the call. Lee's voice was pure panic. "Boss Olivia, you need to come back and see this now. After we sent the project funds to the Lucas group yesterday, they suddenly announced they are canceling the contract. All our joint projects are halted. Our cash flow is completely broken right now. The employees are rioting outside." What? And Mr. Lucas, he straight up left the country overnight. Nobody can reach him. Boss Olivia. Wait, did he just run off with our money? What are we supposed to do? Before Lee could finish speaking, Olivia coldly cut him off. Her heart plummeted straight into the abyss. Ever since Lucas returned, she had been completely charmed by him, blindly pouring billions into his group's projects, basically helping that company rise from the brink of total collapse. Overnight, their romantic relationship had escalated. Just recently, Lucas even went wedding dress shopping with her, but now, the cruel reality was slapping her in the face, shattering every last ray of hope. No, she couldn't hold it back and just screamed. "No, impossible. Lucas would absolutely never do this to me," she shrieked, desperately grabbing her hair with both hands, looking completely out of her mind. Right then, Olivia immediately wanted to storm the Lucas family estate and personally confront him about why he. All right, watch this. When she finally stands before the massive gates of the Lucas mansion, it is totally empty, ghost town. The horrible truth hits her like a truck, a massive setup. The sheer shock makes her dizzy, practically dropping her to her knees. She cannot believe it. All those sweet, happy moments together, nothing but a coldly calculated scam from day one. Lucas played her with sweet lies, easily making her hand over almost all her wealth, and then, without even blinking once, he kicked her to the curb, vanishing with the cash. The pure rage It literally makes Olivia cough up fresh blood. Her body totally staggers backward. Losing balance, she crashes to the dirt, crying and laughing like an absolute madwoman. The poor butler is shaking with pure terror. He desperately rushes over to catch her, only to hear Olivia, eyes tightly shut, pale face absolutely dripping. In cold sweat, muttering in delirium, "Carter, I was so wrong," when she finally wakes up in bed. Nobody is there. The dead silence is terrifying. Olivia, the boss who always had people worshipping her every move, now lies sick in bed. Zero visitors. The high society world of the rich and elite is brutally cold, but being the actual target of all this ruthless indifference, it absolutely shatters her heart anyway. The brutal, shocking scene from last night loops in her head. Olivia is flooded with those memories of the days spent with Carter, clashing against his icy face at the wedding, making her skull pound like it is splitting open. Heavy sobs break out. Suddenly, her secretary sprints right up and throws the door open, clutching a massive pile of corporate documents, staring at Olivia in pure panic. "Boss Olivia, the company problems cannot wait another second. Our bank accounts have zero money left. We cannot even make payroll." Olivia just stares blankly and then bursts out laughing, a harsh sound full of deep, bitter regret. "I brought this on myself, but hey, she has been running the Oliver Group for many years." Olivia takes one deep breath. Fighting through it, she forces herself upright, barking orders like a true CEO. Right now, her biggest priority is fixing the bankrupt cash flow. Olivia thinks hard about it, left with zero other options. She orders the secretary to immediately sell off every piece of real estate she owns. Doing this, basically screaming to the whole world that the Oliver Group is totally finished. But honestly, Olivia does not even have the energy left to care what people think about her. Her once perfect reputation, crushed under the weight of this brutal survival crisis, is already completely shattered, holding zero value anymore. Suddenly, her phone starts blowing up with notifications. She picks it up. The inbox, totally flooded with vicious mockery and incredibly toxic sarcasm. She furiously scrolls to the bottom, but misses the one name she is desperately looking for. Has he really, truly let me go? No, I cannot believe it. The fire of anger in her chest burns even hotter, rising up to completely swallow Olivia alive. Her secretary senses the dark aura, terrified to even breathe. Loudly, he stammers in fear, "Boss Olivia, those projects that assistant Carter handled before walking out, they are all hitting the final stages now. Things look super promising, but the major investors, right after hearing the news that Assistant Carter quit, they all officially stated they do not want to work with us anymore. What on earth should we do about this situation?" What? Olivia was completely stunned. She never expected his abilities were actually this terrifying. After a brief pause, she coldly ordered the old butler, her former father-in-law, the loyal man, over 70 years old, slowly walked in with a warm, gentle smile. "Miss," he had lived in the Oliver mansion for half his life. Honestly, he saw Olivia as his very own daughter. The deep affection he felt for her easily surpassed what he had for his biological son, Carter. After getting married, Carter begged the old man to move out, but he stubbornly refused. The old chairman had passed away and Carter left. How could Arthur ever abandon Miss Oliver all alone, especially right now when the whole Oliver family had once again fallen into a massive crisis? The way Arthur watched Olivia was absolutely filled with pity. "Arthur, could you please give Carter a quick call? The company still has a few serious things he needs to hand over. I cannot reach him at all." Faced with the blind loyalty of this deeply trusted Oliver family retainer, Olivia's attitude softened just a bit. Arthur nodded over and over. He instantly grabbed his phone to call Carter. The very next second, the line connected. A very familiar, deep male voice echoed right through the speaker. "Dad, is something wrong? The young miss wants to speak with you." Arthur immediately handed the phone over to Olivia. Her face did not show the slightest shift in emotion. but Secretary Lai, who had served her for many years, suddenly noticed something. Deep inside Olivia's cold eyes, a tiny flash of real nervousness appeared. "Hello," hearing her voice, the other end of the line. Went totally silent for a moment. Then Carter's voice turned freezing cold. "Olivia, do you seriously find this meaningful?" Hearing his interrogating tone, Olivia's heart felt sliced open by a knife. Honestly, this right here, pure karma. Her body physically trembled. Taking a few heavy breaths, her voice carried real anger. "Carter, honestly never knew you were this incredibly manipulative until today. What are you talking about?" "The rich partners in the projects you were managing, right after finding out you resigned, they all demanded to cancel their contracts with the Oliver Group. Are you seriously telling me you didn't play some dirty trick right behind the scenes?" A mocking laugh came from the other end. Carter's voice stayed calm. "You completely overrate me. I am just a driver's son. How could I possibly have the power to play tricks behind your back?" Remembering the brutal disdain and contempt she had previously shown him, that raging fire of anger in Olivia's heart instantly cooled. By more than half, her pounding headache became even worse. For the very first time in front of anyone, she showed a rare moment of total vulnerability. A heavy wave of sadness rose up in her heart as she choked out, "Carter, do you really have to speak to me with that cold attitude? Once the proud young miss of the Oliver family, right now, she looked exactly like an abandoned puppy, openly sobbing and begging the exact same man she used to look down on." The other end of the phone was filled with a heavy, prolonged silence. It was so suffocating, making it hard to breathe. The woman's face turned terrifyingly pale. A thick layer of tears gradually formed in her eyes. Anyone watching her right now would feel pity. Seeing her break down, Arthur was shaking with pure rage. He snatched the phone back and yelled loudly into the receiver, "You ungrateful son. The miss literally vomited blood yesterday out of pure anger. And now you dare to provoke her even more. If you have the guts, don't you ever come back here again, or I swear I'll break your legs." Carter just calmly replied, "Don't worry, I'm married now. I won't ever show up in front of the Oliver family again." That absolute, decisive certainty hitting Olivia's ears felt exactly like a massive thunderbolt on a clear day. Her lips trembled, huge drops of sweat just rolled right down her pale forehead. Her red, wide eyes locked onto that phone screen, completely overflowing with bitter denial and heavy resentment. It wasn't until that final beep, signaling the call was dead, rang out that she finally snapped out of it. Completely losing her mind, she started trashing the entire room, screaming in a pure fit of madness, "Get out, all of you, get out!" The stunned staff scrambled out the door one by one. Left totally alone, Olivia just sat frozen on her bed, hugging her knees tight. She curled up in a tiny ball, desperately trying to protect herself. Her hand gripped that pink diamond ring so incredibly hard, exactly like she wanted to torture herself. She kept replaying every single memory she ever shared with Carter. Silent tears fell. Honestly, she looked incredibly pathetic in the dead of night. The heavy sound of desperate, painful crying echoed through her room. Those completely broken sobs were enough to wrench any listener's heart. "He clearly loved me so much. Why could he just let go so easily?" she wailed. "Carter, how do I live now?" Meanwhile, after Carter hung up his phone, and you won't believe this, he actually caught Sylvia standing right at the bedroom door with a smile, rocking some pink rabbit pajamas. Her beautiful face practically glowed under the lights, damp hair hanging down. Carter stood up, smoothly taking the towel right from her hands, patiently starting to help her dry her hair. A really soft scent of orchids floated by, making his previously exhausted and chaotic heart finally settle down, almost as if this was exactly how peaceful things were always meant to be between them. A super electric vibe quickly took over, their breathing intertwined, quiet and so gentle. His fingers were suddenly, softly caught by her, the exact spot once sliced deep by a glass shard now just held a faint scar. Pure heartache flashed right in Sylvia's eyes. Who were you calling? Carter's hands paused for a second. But he ultimately decided to just be honest. It was Olivia, sensing the bad vibe. He quickly added, just about work stuff, but Sylvia's eyes instantly turned freezing cold. A super clear flash of anger hit her face. I hate you. Contacting her, never forget exactly how she treated you. Hearing that first part, Carter panicked a bit, but that second half made his heart feel completely coated in absolute honey, so sweet. He stared at this gentle girl right in front of him, totally love-struck. Looking deep into her shimmering, gorgeous eyes, he finally pushed past his hesitation to ask the one big question that had been weighing on his mind. Back then, why did you agree to marry me? Honestly, at that time, we were total strangers meeting for the very first time. The fact that she agreed so crazy fast and immediately went to officially register their marriage had always bugged him. Sylvia just rested her head on his lap, her sweet smile reaching the corners of her eyes, shining like soft moonlight in the dark. Do you truly not remember who I am, Mr. Carter? Just that single sentence and the hidden memories buried deep inside him suddenly snapped awake. He suddenly, let's take you and I back. Years ago, Carter went visiting his mother's lonely grave. He found a little girl there, absolutely sobbing in pure despair. At the time, Carter had just turned 15. He was suffering endless abuse at the Oliver mansion, with nobody to talk to, so he ran to the cemetery to find his mother, pouring his heart out late at night. Amidst the heavy darkness, right below a row of freezing tombstones, stood that little girl. Standing quietly, totally barefoot, her fair, chubby face was completely covered in clear tears. Her pretty little mouth pouted, sobbing and calling for her mom without stopping. Her echoing cries made Carter turn his head. He never expected that out here in the middle of the night, in such a creepy place, he'd actually meet someone hurting just like he was. His young heart instantly felt a pang of deep sympathy. Under the girl's innocent, dark gaze, he softened his tone completely. It's late, it is not safe out here. Where do you live? Let me take you home. The little girl didn't say a word, just widened her eyes at him. There wasn't a single hint of defensiveness in her eyes, only pure, total innocence. Then, out of nowhere, she opened her little arms and gave a sweet smile. Big brother, hug me. Carter was totally stunned, but couldn't resist stepping forward. Picking her tiny body up, he even carefully wrapped his jacket around her bare feet, terrified that she would catch a cold. He is so gentle. That was exactly how that little girl, Sylvia, always remembered that night. They just sat together like that until morning. Then the Song family arrived in a total panic, finding her and taking her home. Her wealthy father had said he wanted to help Carter get his revenge, but he respectfully declined. His final memory of that day was the faint scent of orchids on the little girl, plus her innocent smile as she left. So, your name is Carter. What a beautiful name. Next time we meet, I will definitely recognize you. And you know what? She absolutely did. The very first time they met again, she instantly recognized him. Even Sylvia couldn't quite understand why, after just one single meeting, she could hold this guy in her heart for so long. They say falling for someone starts with feeling pity. When she saw Carter's calm face carrying so much deep, hidden sorrow, her heart simply had no more hesitation. Before all this, she absolutely didn't believe in love at first sight, but meeting Carter, she knew she was dead wrong. Her completely straightforward confession left him totally dumbfounded. Carter's face flushed bright, burning red. He had originally assumed she was just pitying him. He awkwardly tugged at his collar, the tips of his ears burning red. He looked away, too scared to even meet her gaze. Seeing his shy reaction, Sylvia suddenly got a wildly mischievous idea. She leaned in close, her lips almost brushing against his, whispering softly, her breath as light as sweet orchids. We are legally husband and wife now, Mr. Carter. When exactly do you plan on fulfilling your manly duties as a husband? Boom. It felt like a bomb detonated inside his head. Completely dizzy, Carter couldn't even process what she said next. His mind was entirely hijacked by the image of those red, plump lips, a color so incredibly enticing that It made it literally impossible to resist the urge to lean down and kiss them. Early the next morning, when Sylvia finally woke up, rubbing her sore lower back, Carter had been awake for hours. Breakfast was already perfectly prepared. He had also completely finished his daily workout, showered and fresh, currently sitting at his desk, casually handling work documents. Seeing him so properly dressed and serious, every single movement totally neat and standard, Sylvia suddenly thought of one perfect phrase: a beast in human clothing. Because obviously last night, he was the one constantly gripping her waist, eagerly nuzzling into her ear, whispering those sweet, seductive words. Yet come morning, he acted like absolutely nothing happened, still that calm, perfectly restrained guy, as if the man who intensely battled her until dawn never even existed. Meanwhile, Olivia finally woke up after sleeping heavily for a whole day and night, her mind still totally groggy. Downstairs, she heard her secretary leading people in to view the mansion bright and early. Walking down those stairs, she accidentally locked eyes with a familiar face. Absolute scumbag. You and I both know the type, wearing a pure gold chain as thick as a dog collar. His greedy, absolutely disgusting gaze swept across the entire mansion, and when he spotted Olivia, those beady, rat-like little eyes of his instantly lit up with pure, terrifying lust. This creep was Ricky Gold, a super famous new money millionaire who made his massive fortune just mining gold. But he was also famous for being totally uncultured. Anyone with real status completely looked down on associating with a guy like him. Back in the day, he was totally mesmerized by Olivia's beauty, shamelessly chasing after her for a while. Ultimately, Carter sent people to teach him a brutal lesson before he finally gave up. Feeling that filthy, greasy stare on her, Olivia was filled with pure disgust. Secretary Lei, noticing her boss looking more and more uncomfortable, hurriedly leaned in and whispered, "Boss Olivia, this Mr. Gold is actually the highest bidder in the auction. He offered double the second highest price. Please just bear with it for a bit." Ricky Gold, spotting her disgusted look, immediately grew super displeased. He kicked off his shoes without even asking, throwing those stinky, filthy feet right on the coffee table. Then he casually grabbed the water pitcher, chugging it straight from the spout. Gulp, gulp, gulp. His entire vibe screamed pure arrogance. A guy who just struck it rich. Oh, Olivia, let me tell you, your Oliver Group is totally done for. What's the point of playing princess now? Back in the day, when your dad and Carter were still around, I showed them some respect, but now that it's just a little girl left, who do you think you are? Olivia's hands clenched into tight, angry fists. Seriously, if her secretary hadn't held her back right then, she would have absolutely punched his lights out. Ricky Gold grew even more arrogant. He casually gestured to the massive bodyguards behind him. They immediately hauled out over 10 massive chests, placing them neatly right on the table, and when they opened them, solid gold bars stacked all the way to the brim. We're talking hundreds of billions here, guys. Just this crazy pile of money was enough to buy 10 mansions just like the Olivers. Miss Olivia, I'm a man who hates beating around the bush. Doing business with me means being fast, totally straightforward and decisive. The truth is, my eyes were never just on this little house. It is you." The rat-faced guy jumped up from the sofa, his eyes absolutely brimming with lust, rubbing his greedy hands together like a dirty fly. The corner of his mouth twisted into a sinister, greedy smile. "As long as you come with me, this money can be considered my dowry. Your Oliver Group will be completely saved." He spoke with utter confidence, totally certain that Olivia would nod and agree. After all, the Oliver Group had completely hit rock bottom. Between you and me, who else could possibly help her clean up this epic mess? Olivia ground her teeth so hard, almost biting through the soft flesh inside her cheek. A harsh, metallic, bloody taste spread fast in her throat. She couldn't help but gag, retching completely, everything inside her. Her stomach churned violently. We know Ricky Gold clearly never expected her to have such a visceral reaction. Instead of treating him like some grand savior, she actually just looked Completely nauseated, ready to throw up, his face immediately darkened, those beady eyes flashed with pure malice. Damn it, why the hell are you pretending to be so pure? Everyone knows that you, Olivia, are nothing but used goods that Lucas threw away twice. Me willing to marry you is an absolute blessing. Don't be ungrateful. The world spun. In Olivia's red-rimmed eyes, a massive fire of sheer fury burned violently. Her voice was totally hoarse. Who are you to demand to marry me? Even if I end up begging on the streets someday, I would never marry trash like you. She was always proud. How could she just bow down to circumstance? Get out, just get out of here right now. Her furious screaming scared Secretary Lai so much his face went pale. He quickly bowed, trying to escort Ricky Gold out of there, but Ricky just waved him off, pointing right at Olivia's face, cursing extremely loudly. Ungrateful, no wonder nobody wants you, if it wasn't for the simple fact that Carter shamelessly chased you for over 10 years and failed. He would have dumped you for Sylvia anyway. Smack, a crisp slap echoed loudly, the final nerve in Olivia's brain, that little thing called logic, snapped completely. She grabbed the nearby fruit knife, clutching it super tightly, her eyes practically erupting with real murderous intent. If you don't get out right now, I honestly do not mind sending you straight to hell. Ricky Gold clutched the side of his burning face, staring wide-eyed at that gleaming blade, finally showing some genuine fear. He scrambled and crawled, fleeing the house in total panic. As he ran, he didn't forget to grab all his gold, muttering angry curses non-stop. After he left, Olivia completely collapsed, sitting flat on the floor, the heavy knife dropped with a cold clang. She stared blankly into the empty space ahead of her, eyes totally hollow, carrying some deep sorrow and heavy despair from the bottom of her soul. Now listen, the proud, arrogant Olivia nobody could touch was now reduced to someone even absolute trash like Ricky Gold dared to insult, but the words Ricky Gold just said echoed in her ears like sharp needles, stinging painfully. If Carter wasn't there, did he really love her? He did. Young love always hits super intensely and fiercely. When she finally realized she had real feelings for a driver's son, her first instinct was just to run away. Proud Olivia, she absolutely could not accept the fact that she fell for someone of such low status. To her, that felt like an insult, so she numbed her heart, forcing herself to be with Lucas, a man whose high status actually matched hers. She forced herself to love that guy, but the harsh reality was when the secretary announced Lucas ran away with the money after a whole month of heartbreak. Her first real reaction was actually pure relief. Relief for what? Olivia herself couldn't explain it. Her mind was a tangled mess. Memories suddenly rushed back that day to let Sylvia study abroad. Lucas cried for 3 days straight. In his room, it was Carter who broke the lock, kneeling down to beg Olivia to eat so she wouldn't starve. He became her secret lover in the dark. They lived through crazy, endless nights together in the Oliver mansion. What she loved most was his expression, enduring yet completely immersed. She constantly caused unreasonable trouble just to truly test his limits. When he finally looked up, staring intently right into her eyes, and demanded a real, official status, her heart definitely wavered. But then the sudden return of Lucas completely shattered her plans. She panicked and backed out. Turns out she made the wrong choice again, and this time she had actually plunged herself straight into absolute hell. But today, Ricky Gold's words once again made Olivia's heart completely tremble. She finally realized his place in her heart far exceeded her own imagination, but she had grown way too used to him always standing behind her, fixing every single problem. With him around, everything seemed incredibly smooth and easy. The absolute security he brought was unmatched by anyone. But when she finally accepted this truth, she found her heart way calmer than imagined. All that confusion and past torment at this exact moment just vanished like smoke. Deep down, there was only one single thought left. She desperately wanted to see him. She missed him. She almost went to grab her phone to call him, then it hit her she was already blocked. The corners of Olivia's mouth curled into a bitter smile. Her heart felt like it was being squeezed tight, aching uncontrollably, but she totally couldn't do a single thing. Left with no other choice, she told the butler to bring Arthur to her. She personally brewed him tea, completely relying on the old man's lingering sympathy to get what she wanted. Now, you and I know our guy immediately dove into building his own company. 10 years grinding at the Oliver Group meant his experience and knowledge far exceeded a regular CEO assistant. Honestly, if it wasn't just out of pure respect for the Oliver family, he never would have wasted that much time at their company. Initially, people across the entire industry made snide remarks, mocking him for not knowing his place, thinking he was just overestimating himself. But wait for it, they shockingly realized the man they once completely looked down on, relying purely on his own insane strength, had established a massive foothold in City H in just 1 month. He even consecutively signed massive contracts with cash flows hitting hundreds of millions, locking down distribution networks with top internationally renowned enterprises, expanding his business empire at absolutely blinding speed. Just like that, his name became a massive overnight success across the entire business world. Even the Song family, who always looked down on him, suddenly begged Sylvia to bring him home for a proper visit. Sitting in the car heading back to the Song mansion, Sylvia was dressed absolutely flawlessly. She had always quietly held onto a sense of grievance but silently supported her husband's new business journey. His large, warm hand suddenly rested right over hers. Sylvia looked up, meeting his smiling eyes. "You look beautiful today." Sylvia's face completely flushed red. Corners of her lips naturally curled right up. "Before, my parents had some opinions about you. Now they finally trust my taste in men." Hearing her speak like a huge burden just vanished. His mood totally brightened too. In reality, the Song family didn't just have minor opinions. It was just that Sylvia couldn't stand seeing him sad, so she hid all those brutal words perfectly, terrified it would ruin his mood. After all, Sylvia was an elite heiress. Marrying him, just some lowly nobody assistant. Everyone absolutely thought it was a mismatch. Not to mention her actual parents. Even if she stayed quiet, Carter knew exactly. He felt it deeply. That was exactly why our male lead was so completely desperate to build his career. You see, proving his worth meant he would finally win over father-in-law's respect. During dinner, he spoke incredibly well, behaving so politely, quickly charming both of her parents completely. Later on, Mr. Song patted his shoulder, literally glowing with joy. His face actually turned bright red. The man was thrilled. Seeing this whole wholesome scene, Mrs. Song was totally moved. "As long as you two are happy, I am perfectly content." Before, her dad refused because he feared being with Carter would just make his precious daughter suffer. She had never struggled a single day. How could her mom bear to let her struggle now? She admitted Carter was shockingly capable. She was so happy for her precious daughter. Tears completely filled Sylvia's eyes as she suddenly hugged her mom tight. A single tear rolled down her gorgeous face, making her look incredibly fragile. The family happily talked until maybe 7 or 8 at night. It was only when the butler reminded Mr. Song about his medical therapy before he finally let Carter leave. Watching this, Mrs. Song covered her mouth and just laughed. She told him to stop holding up the deeply in love newlyweds. Sylvia's face went absolute tomato red, burning up completely. She shyly peeked over at her mom. When she looked back, she locked eyes with a blushing Carter. The two of them instantly snapped their heads away. Mr. Song just rubbed his belly, laughing out loud. He looked at the couple with pure warmth, nodding his head in total satisfaction. Later that night on the balcony, Sylvia quietly stared at the man standing beside her. Yes, Carter. His features were sharp but warm like flawless jade. It honestly seemed like every single good trait belonged to him. Her dad was aging, she gently explained. Whenever he got excited, he trapped guests and refused to let them go. she asked him not to mind it at all. The window was cracked, a freezing wind carrying the first snowflakes of winter rushed in, waking them up. Any lingering awkwardness, caution, and leftover doubt just totally vanished into thin air. Carter immediately shook his head, gently wrapping a warm scarf around her with a reassuring smile. Being accepted by her family was his absolute honor. Hearing him say that, Sylvia finally felt completely safe. Back inside, Carter sat at the desk for work. Meanwhile, she carefully brewed some fresh tea, sitting right beside him to silently read some English files. They just clicked perfectly, never bothering each other, only occasionally sharing these incredibly sweet looks. In that peaceful vibe, the two finally opened up and actually talked for real. Let's listen closely. Carter opened up about his mother tragically passing away so young and getting adopted by his foster dad in the Oliver family as an adopted son. Then came that 10-year toxic disaster of a relationship with Olivia. Since childhood, he was literally brainwashed to make everything about that spoiled young miss. He was entirely used to fixing her messes, putting up with her awful habits and crazy tantrums. Hearing this, Sylvia looked completely heartbroken, her delicate fingers squeezed tight, her eyes welling with pure sadness. She stood up, then sat right next to him, softly placing her warm hand over his. She absolutely didn't blame him for his past. He never had a real choice. Right after, she took the leap and talked about her old ex-boyfriend from back when she was studying overseas. She confessed all the totally foolish things she did while blinded by appearances just to make Carter laugh. In the end, her eyes were so incredibly gentle. Like deep water, she stared right at him, totally mesmerizing him. Carter, I absolutely don't want to be just some passing guest in your life. I want to hold your hand until the very end. A bitter, freezing wind suddenly blew past them, knocking the fresh snowflakes right off the branches. Heavy clumps of snow hit the frozen ground with soft, heavy thuds. Yet it still could never drown out the wild, deafening sound of Carter's heart pounding away. Before he turned 28, he always blamed his fate, thinking life was just too unfair and completely cruel. It felt like every single good thing in the whole world had nothing to do with him. But now he realized something. If all his past tragedy was just the price to finally meet Sylvia, then he gladly accepted every bit of it. Later, when Carter got that sudden call from Arthur, he was busy running a high-stakes board meeting. By now, since his own startup had totally taken off, he was working nonstop. He barely even had time to breathe. Using bold strategy, he pushed their whole commercial platform overseas, refusing to fight head-on against those massive legacy corporations. Instead, Carter picked a completely different route, a much smarter way to establish his dominance. Rather than squeezing into that fiercely brutal rat race, he carved out an entirely new direction, walking a wild path absolutely nobody had ever dared to try before. Down that hidden road, unbelievable profits were waiting. But it also meant he had to grind 100,000 times harder than anyone else. But get this, the rival Oliver Group was basically bleeding out like an absolute ghost town. Seeing the pure chaos unfolding, their old core employees completely panicked and scrambled to resign and quickly bail out. Panicking shareholders also raced to dump off all their stock at absolute dirt-cheap prices. Literally overnight, the market value of the Oliver Group evaporated by trillions of dollars. Backed into a corner, Olivia was desperately forced to sell off cars, freeze her stocks, and rapidly shut down numerous failing subsidiaries. After 10 long years, the Oliver Group was once again teetering right on the fatal brink of complete bankruptcy. After setting a meeting spot with Arthur, Carter immediately told Sylvia everything. Coincidentally, she was actually booked for a major academic speech that very day. So she personally bought several incredibly expensive gifts, asking Carter to drop them off to his father-in-law for her. Honestly, her attention to detail was absolutely flawless. Nobody could find a single flaw. But right before he left, pay attention here, a heavy unease violently gripped Carter's Heart, so he pulled Sylvia close, anxiously reminding her to be careful over and over. It wasn't until she softly giggled and playfully punched his chest that he finally, reluctantly let go of her warm hand. He carefully buttoned up her winter coat, then tightly draped another totally thick jacket right over her shoulders. You are literally about to wrap me up like a little dumpling, Sylvia gently teased, but she still smiled and let him softly push her right into the car. He even gently pinched her soft cheek. Stay warm today. Your cold medicine is already safely in that thermos. I will tell Xiao Jiang to remind you to drink it. Hearing this, Sylvia nodded, pure sweetness totally flooding her heart. She honestly had no idea exactly when it happened, but Carter had completely taken over, taking care of her every single need. It was almost like he was raising a daughter. He helped her dress, brushed her hair, and cooked her breakfast every single morning. Those pretty but freezing outfits, he packed them all away. Sometimes he honestly nagged her way more than her own mother, Mrs. Song. Okay, I know, I totally knows. You better hurry up and go now too. Do not keep Dad waiting. Yeah, bees. Super careful driving today. That chilly morning, her sleek car slowly rolled out of their high-end residential area, smoothly merging into the loud, bustling street traffic. Carter stood watching until he simply could. Let's watch this unfold. He waits until her car's silhouette vanishes completely before moving to his own car, arriving at the exact location agreed upon with Arthur. The moment Carter walks through the doors, he immediately spots Olivia sitting right beside him. His expression instantly turns completely dark. Arthur violently barks at him. Put that gloomy face away. Sit your butt down right here. Otherwise, don't ever call me Dad again. Carter's face twists into an incredibly ugly scowl. He deliberately picks a seat as far away from Olivia as humanly possible, completely avoiding and guarding against her. Watching him desperately avoid her like that, Olivia's heart takes a sudden hit. She slowly sets her chopsticks down, crosses her arms tightly over her chest, and just quietly stares at him for a few agonizing seconds. Her expression, it looked like a mocking half smile. You followed me for over 10 years after all. Can't we even reminisce a little bit? We have absolutely nothing left to discuss. Carter instantly jumps up, ready to walk out, but who would have thought Arthur would violently shove him right back down? You really think leaving the Oliver family means your wings are strong enough to rebel? And I can't control you anymore. Spitting those words, Arthur completely storms out. The heavy door slams shut and locks from the outside, trapping him completely. Seeing Carter's purely furious face, with nowhere left to vent, Olivia lets out a soft, mocking chuckle. She personally pours him a glass of wine. Sit down. Why so incredibly hot-tempered? Her delicate fingers brush right against his suit, sliding slowly up to his chin for a soft, teasing scratch. This face isn't exactly enough to make Sylvia so entirely obsessed with you. What kind of sick trick did you pull to make her that devoted, even willing to marry you? Honestly, I bet it's just some ridiculous tricks in bed, right? Once she finally gets bored, your little title as the Song family's son-in-law will end too. Her vicious, sarcastic remarks keep almost spilling out completely non-stop. Carter violently slaps her hand away, scrubbing his chin hard like he just touched absolute filth. My personal matters are literally none of Boss Olivia's business. Hearing this, Olivia coldly sneers. She grabs the wine glass, downs the whole thing, and smashes it aggressively against the floor, her eyes flashing a dangerous red. Carter, we slept together for 10 whole years. Do you seriously think marrying someone else means you can just easily cut all ties with me? Then what the hell were those 10 years? Now watch closely. Carter stares back, his eyes ice cold, completely stripped of that old gentleness. That lingering attachment is totally gone, replaced only by absolute bone-deep disgust. I was blind. His freezing voice cuts through the room, carrying pure ruthlessness and heavy determination like a sharp blade, slicing pieces right out of her fragile heart, making it bleed. No, no, I don't believe this. You used to love me so insanely much. I refuse to believe you can just say let go and actually mean it. This is your very last chance. As long as you're willing to just come crawling back to me, I can Easily overlook your past mistakes. Just be a good boy and come back. Hell, I can even marry you, but her frantic voice just grows weaker and weaker. Perhaps even she finally realizes that genuine love in his eyes is now totally gone, worth absolutely nothing. Watching her agonizingly desperate breakdown, after a brief moment of shock, Carter just feels totally bitter and finds it all ridiculous. That exact sentence he had once so desperately prayed for had finally left her mouth, but right now, he only finds it absurdly, painfully ironic, thinking back on all that icy coldness, all the crushing blame and past pain, he honestly doesn't believe Olivia ever truly loved him at all. It's just that after his sudden disappearance, she had a totally out-of-control reaction. A loyal dog you're used to ordering around suddenly snaps its leash and escapes. Who wouldn't feel insanely angry and unable to accept that? All right, we see Carter quietly stand up, his voice calm, packed with absolute resolve. He loves his wife very much. He warns Olivia to stop saying things that completely cross the line. He doesn't want any misunderstandings. With that clearly said, Carter doesn't even bother giving Olivia another look. He calls the outside bodyguards, firmly ordering them to prepare to break the lock. Olivia just slumps to the floor, completely lost in a daze, staring at his retreating back, her face totally drained of blood she had once confidently believed that if she just acted sweet and coaxed him, completely relying on his deep infatuation from all those years ago, he would definitely abandon Sylvia and come crawling right back to her. But what she never expected, Carter genuinely loves Sylvia now. A wild surge of pure rage rushes straight to the top of her head, a dark, dangerous storm brews in her eyes, glaring at his decisive and cold retreating back. She roars out furiously, "Carter, I will make you regret your decision today." Yet Carter acts like he didn't hear a single thing, his footsteps even speed up, not leaving behind a single glance. "Fine," Olivia sneers coldly, her face totally desolate. With violently trembling hands, she grabs her phone, making a call. Her red eyes and voice are full of absolute madness. "Do it," Carter hurriedly urges his driver to speed up, super anxious to pick up Sylvia. Tonight is their 3-month wedding anniversary. His car is packed with big and small gifts, carrying his love, rushing toward his wife. Let us check the other side. Sylvia has just left her academic forum, surrounded by elite experts, smiling politely, graciously, and patiently responding to their endless invitations. She resolutely returned to this country because she wanted to contribute her own small effort to translating ancient documents for the nation. She declares this is her lifelong ideal. It is also the basic responsibility of a citizen. In the future, no matter which research institute she ends up working at, it will be her absolute honor. She speaks thoroughly and tactfully. Her warm, genuine smile makes everyone find her completely endearing. A prominent professor from Kingbei University clearly shows his deep admiration. This lady is still so young, yet she has already become a leading national expert in the very complex field of ancient text translation. Not only is she academically brilliant, but she also possesses serious patriotism. She is exactly the rare talent they desperately need right now. He is about to step forward to strike up a conversation when he sees Sylvia's secretary line right into her ear, whispering a few frantic words. Sylvia's face instantly turns paper white. She hurriedly rushes to the car, not even realizing that she just dropped her purse on the solid ground. Getting into the car, her face, usually carrying a sweet smile, shows obvious panic and total loss of control for the first time. She tightly grabs Secretary Zhao Jiang's arm, anxiously and fearfully demanding, "Carter, why was he in a car accident? How is he right now? Is it serious?" "No, Zhao." Jiang swallows hard. His normally honest and extremely kind face now flashes with pure excitement and dark malice. "Miss Song, Mr. Carter has been taken to the emergency room. The hospital says an immediate family member must quickly sign the papers. Otherwise, the doctors absolutely do not dare to operate. As soon as he Finishes speaking, heavy tears instantly fall from Sylvia's eyes, her lips tremble. Hurry, hurry to the hospital as fast as humanly possible, the Rolls-Royce with the plate 8888 speeds away, hidden in the rain, deadly conspiracies. All right, the truth is finally spilling out in this insane pouring rain. By the time Sylvia realizes something is totally off, the car is already out of town, speeding straight toward a creepy abandoned factory over 100 miles away from City A. Zhao Zhuang, why aren't we at the hospital yet? Sylvia checks the rearview mirror, catching the secretary's super dark, greedy stare. Massive wave of panic hits her. Don't worry, we are almost there. The closer they get to this shady meetup spot, the faster Zhao Zhuang's heart pounds. Olivia's wicked, fox-like voice is echoing right now. Your son is in my hands. As long as you do exactly what I say, I will make sure he stays alive. If not, get ready to bury him. On the other end of the line, a little kid crying bitterly comes through like a literal sharp knife, slicing into a mother's heart. Wait, hold up, Zhao Zhuang is actually a woman. Got it, let me adjust. She is a female secretary. Anyway, she just feels her chest getting crushed by some massive invisible hand. She instantly nods her head. Total agreement, thinking about her kid, any tiny bit of hesitation she still had suddenly completely vanishes. She is totally locked in. Miss Song, Mr. Carter, please don't blame me, I literally had zero choice. Screech, the tires absolutely scream as the car slams to a halt. Sylvia gets violently yanked right out by the secretary, crashing super hard onto the dirt before she can even react. A chillingly familiar voice calls out right above her. She looks up. Oh boy, it is Olivia, holding this jet black umbrella, just standing there right in front of the creepy old factory doors. Her whole vibe is practically blending into the pitch black night, and that absolutely unhinged smile on her face is getting clearer by the second, just radiating pure villain energy. We meet again, Sylvia. She pauses for a split second, her face totally twisting up with pure rage, spitting out every single word. Mrs. Carter, get inside the factory. That dusty air makes you choke, barely able to catch a breath. Sylvia is now strapped to this rotten chair. Her clothes are completely shredded, her body just covered in nasty bruises from a brutal beating. Morning comes and Olivia is just ruthlessly slapping her face. Crisp, heavy smack sounds are echoing through the whole factory. Sylvia's usually gorgeous face is totally bruised up, swollen and dripping blood, even the hired thugs standing right by Olivia are cringing at this brutal scene. But from start to finish, get this, Sylvia just grits her teeth, taking the hits without making one single sound. So insanely tough, it is honestly hard to believe. Sylvia, you stole Lucas from me before, and I still have not settled that score with you. Now you dare reach your hands toward Carter. You seriously love picking up the trash I throw out, don't you? Blood stains the corner of Sylvia's mouth, but those ice-cold eyes finally spark up. With pure anger, she locks eyes with this woman right in front of her, who is acting like an absolute maniac, basically possessed by some demon. Sylvia's eyes absolutely cannot hide her total disgust. Used goods, Olivia. From the very beginning, you never once actually viewed Carter as a real human being. You only ever treated him like a slave, like your literal property. That kind of toxic, twisted love obviously never gets a good ending. Him choosing me makes absolute sense. Don't tell me you are actually feeling some regret right now. That confident, gentle look on Sylvia's face to someone like Olivia is basically blinding, twisting like a knife straight into her cold villain heart. She completely lost it, almost like the absolute darkest, most humiliating secret in her heart was suddenly exposed. Shut the hell up. When Carter arrived at the scene, you and I could only spot a few bystanders. No Sylvia anywhere, our MC's chest tightened immediately. A crushing sense of absolute dread hit him hard. He grabbed a bystander, pure panic written on his face, demanding to know, where did Sylvia go? Where is she? Turns out the guy was a professor from Kingbei University. He handed Carter his wife's purse and explained exactly what happened. Before she ran, a secretary told her just one thing. She said, CEO. Carter had an accident, then she bolted. Hearing this, our MC's heart instantly sank. 1 second later, his phone rang. Olivia, the villainess herself. The words coming through the speaker completely shattered his absolute last ray of hope. He had left. Her voice sounded light, almost amused. Carter, do you want her breathing? Then come to the old factory, alone, and for the exact spot, you know exactly where. Carter's hands started shaking. His phone hit the concrete, shattering into pieces. One of his bodyguards quickly picked it up. Carter, turning completely pale, listened as his man reported the facts. Sir, according to our trackers, the moment the madam left the city limits, we lost her completely. We cannot lock down her current location. Carter just closed his eyes, forcing his raging emotions down. Then, wearing a freezing expression, he drove off alone, heading straight toward the city outskirts. A brutal winter rain was absolutely pouring down. Now heavy drops smashed against the windshield, creating a seriously dark, oppressive vibe that made breathing difficult. As the passing scenery shifted from unknown roads back to something familiar, Carter visibly froze. This area, it was the exact same neighborhood where Olivia's grandfather had lived, a place packed with their rare, old childhood memories. Together, years ago, right after the Oliver family went bankrupt, to completely avoid getting hunted by crazy debt collectors, Carter hid Olivia inside this very apartment. Those two spent their days totally cut off from the rest of society. No matter what Carter did back then, she followed him everywhere like a shadow, right behind him. Now you and I have to remember, the spoiled Oliver heiress just lost her dad. Her only remaining lifeline was the big brother figure she grew up around, which was Carter. Their bond deepened fast, and this was where they shared their very first rainy night together. But today, Olivia stood on that rooftop staring down at him. Watching this sharply dressed man climbing those stairs, one by one, she deliberately picked this exact spot for the ransom. Honestly, she was being incredibly selfish. In her twisted mind, she clung to the stubborn fantasy that Carter still loved her, trying to weaponize their past to break his guard. But once he left her family's company, Carter dominated the business world, reaching the absolute peak of his career. He wasn't that meek little assistant anymore. The boss energy radiating from him now was so terrifyingly heavy, it made everyone else panic. Even showing up totally alone, these hired thugs wouldn't dare try anything stupid. One glare from Carter was enough to make them physically shake. Seeing this, Olivia's bitterness exploded. This absolute alpha of a man, he was meant to be hers forever, and some other woman had stolen him. Now the man stood before her, expression completely frozen, eyes empty, yet the edges of his eyes were burning red. Let her go, please. Seeing him this desperate for his all right, let's jump in. Olivia felt like a giant boulder was crushing her heart, totally suffocating. Her bitter question actually made Carter pause for a brief second. But meeting Sylvia's tear-filled eyes, Carter's expression instantly hardened, more resolute than ever. Yes, I love her. A sudden calm washed over Sylvia's eyes, followed by warm tears. Tears of pure joy falling like rain. Meanwhile, Olivia stood there watching everything. Her face twisted into something incredibly ugly, a massive surge of pure, toxic jealousy. Absolute fury rose up, completely swallowing whatever logic she had left. She ordered her goons to grab Sylvia, suspending her right over the terrifying edge of the rooftop. Sylvia's entire body trembled in the air, her beautiful, gentle face completely drained of color. Not a single drop of blood left. The freezing wind howled, that thick rope. It started creaking loudly, absolutely terrifying to watch. Carter just couldn't take it anymore. Clenching both fists, he let out a furious roar. Olivia, what the hell do you want? Olivia slowly pulled out that pink diamond ring she had previously lost. She found it again, looking at Carter like she was totally possessed. Deep pain flashed in her eyes. Divorce her, come back to me right now. Zero pride left in her posture. Honestly, it was incredibly pathetic to witness. I regret everything, Carter. I never should have treated you so horribly before. Now that I lost you, I finally see exactly how important you are. I genuinely cannot live without you. Just come back. I am literally begging you. Carter couldn't believe his eyes. He was so stunned he stood completely speechless. He had never seen Olivia act like this, even during her absolute lowest points in life. She always kept that arrogant, untouchable attitude. The number of people who could make her bow her head was zero, yet here she was, begging a man she used to despise, begging for his forgiveness. What an absolute pity. The moment he saw Sylvia tortured and covered in awful wounds, his final remaining shred of affection for Olivia vanished entirely. Yeah, there was once a time. He loved her to the bone. His only dream was standing by her side, protecting her, making sure she was safe. He had turned down countless massive job offers for her, gladly playing the role of her nameless assistant, cleaning up every single corporate mess she made. From day one, he never expected any real official status. He just prayed that his years of endless loyalty might earn them a tiny shred of dignity, but Carter never once expected she would go totally insane, kidnapping his legal wife, torturing her. Like this, that psychotic move completely shattered his absolute bottom line forever. You know how this goes. To him, Olivia was basically a dead woman walking. He finally spoke up, his voice completely freezing cold, without a single drop of emotion. Olivia, you disgust me. Those words hit her like a jagged knife, stabbing straight into her dark heart, brutally yanked out. It made her physical body hurt so bad she violently trembled. She could barely hold herself upright anymore, but she refused to look weak. She suddenly raised the small knife in her shaking hand, swinging it right at the rope holding Sylvia over the ledge. If you won't come back to me, I won't let you be with her either. Go to hell with me. She let out a manic, terrifying laugh, messy dark hair hiding her completely twisted face, hacking wildly away with the sharp blade. One more hit and the rope snaps, but suddenly a sharp sound. Pain exploded across her back. Carter rushed forward, landing a brutal kick squarely on her body. The sheer force nearly snapped her ribs in half. Olivia spat out a mouthful of blood, letting out a ragged groan. She could only lie there, keeping her eyes locked in shock as Carter pulled Sylvia up to safety. The two of them hugged each other tight. Their faces glowed with joy, like they had just reclaimed a priceless treasure, totally different from the cold, disgusted glare he gave Olivia just moments ago. Seeing that, it made Olivia's heart sink straight into an absolute abyss. Downstairs, piercing police sirens echoed through the air. Officers quickly appeared, one by one, moving in for the rescue. Seeing that calm look on Carter's face, Olivia finally got it. Her struggling was entirely pointless. This man had calculated every single move, setting a perfect trap just to protect his girl. The cost, throwing Olivia away completely. And right now, Olivia's heart was drowning in pure, crushing despair. She opened her empty eyes wide, staring at the gray sky. She could already see her own dark future, a total dead end. The police stormed the roof, aiming their guns, ordering her to hold her head and get down. She just turned, watching Carter hugging Sylvia tight. With exhausted eyes, Olivia backed away step by step, almost like he was looking at a monster. That sight actually made her laugh, but that smile was packed with pure bitterness. Those eyes, once so full of love and trust, now held nothing but hatred and bone-deep disgust. How incredibly meaningless, Olivia realized. She slowly stood up while everyone watched in pure horror. Step by step, she walked straight to the edge of the roof, and without hesitation, she jumped. That beautiful, stunning face was shattered completely beyond recognition. Her body hit the ground motionless, twisted in an absolutely terrifying posture. She twitched just a few times, struggling to choke out a few final unwilling sounds, then total silence. But right before she died, deep in her heart, she was still whispering, "Carter, it hurts so much. Why haven't you come to hold me yet? All right, let's jump forward." 1 year later, her group shattered into pieces. That once glorious corporate empire completely swallowed up by the changing tides. Olivia was buried right next to her own family's ancestral tombs, just a lonely little grave covered in weeds, other than Arthur, who still visited yearly. Nobody even remembered the powerful eldest daughter of the Oliver family who once ran the whole city. As for our guy Carter, he was absolutely thriving in the business world. Following that wild kidnapping incident, Sylvia's parents completely trusted him. They literally handed the entire song group over for Carter to manage, giving him all their support without blinking, and he didn't disappoint them. Step by step, Carter built up his very own corporate empire. In just a few years, his net worth absolutely skyrocketed. Barely hitting his 30s, he had already cracked the top 10 list of global billionaires. In their free time, Sylvia and Carter traveled everywhere, holding hands, taking in the best sights of the world, watching the white snow up north, chilling in the gardens of Sushi's hometown while drinking tea, enjoying the rain, and just hugging amidst the calming sound of ocean waves. Eventually, Sylvia chose to take a job at the Research Institute over at Kingbei University. With her doctorate, she became a true university professor, teaching brilliantly. Her classes are always completely packed, with 0 empty seats. On those packed days, he'd use his free time to pick her up after class, the two of them walking side by side, completely matching in talent and looks. Everyone admired them, calling them the ultimate model couple, making people endlessly jealous. That specific day, he went to pick her up from class. The lecture today, it was all about love. Lots of students debated fiercely in class, arguing until they were completely red in the face. Sylvia just stood quietly by the podium, a soft smile on her face, neither objecting nor agreeing. She was always like that, totally respecting everyone's personal feelings and opinions. But then, a student noticed him standing right at the back of the classroom. They mischievously made a funny face at Professor Song. "Hey, Professor Song, we hear you and your husband have an amazing relationship. Could you share your secret to keeping love alive?" Sylvia paused for a second, then turned to look right at him, eyes overflowing with pure love. She smiled gently and replied, "As long as you love each other deeply enough, you can overcome absolutely any obstacle." Hearing that, his heart actually trembled a bit. He naturally took the bag from her hand. Their 10 fingers intertwined tightly as they headed off. "Yeah, time to go home."